Namaskar, everyone. Welcome to the 10th episode of the podcast. It's been a really motivating journey for me personally, as well as I know that for a lot of students who have tried to build a career in different fields and wanted to listen to role models in the field of law to get inspired and do well in the field of law and public policy, and generally, I think, become better citizens. Over the last 10 episodes, I have interviewed role models in the field of law and public policy and 5 inspiring women. And today we are continuing with this journey because Audrey ma'am has agreed to do the podcast. Well, what can I say about Audrey ma'am? I met her almost a decade ago when I volunteered for a very short period with her organization called Majlis. Audrey ma'am joined Majlis in the year 2007 as a program director, and she holds formal qualifications in the field of law and management. Apart from streamlining the existing programs around access to justice and evolving internal control systems and monitoring mechanisms, her main contribution has been to evolve the collaboration of Majlis with the government. And in specifically 2 important areas, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act and RAHAT, which provides support to survivors of sexual violence and bringing them in systems for state accountability towards victims. Towards this, Audrey ma'am has evolved protocols, guidelines, and training modules to various stakeholders, including the judiciary and the police. And as I've mentioned before, she is a role model for law students who aspire to build a career in the field of women and child rights. And I mean, women and men alike who wish to speak up against violence and injustice. So welcome to the podcast, Audrey ma'am, and please give me the liberty to call you ma'am.
Thank you, Shivam. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So the first question and the most obvious one, it was a very interesting thing that I read in your profile that you joined Majlis in the year 2007, and after that you pursued law. So could you tell us about how you managed your degree in law and the work at Majlis, and also your personal life?
Yeah, I did my law pretty late, actually. I did my law at the age of 35. Before I did my law, I also did my MBA, which was also very late. So I have been a late starter. I spent my college days believing that, life just happens and you don't really need to do much. So didn't pursue my higher education after my graduation. I came to Majlis in 2007, and one of the biggest reasons was that Flavia Agnes is my mother, and that's a shock for Shivam. But yeah, so she is the founder of Majlis, and she had started Majlis way back in 1991. So her journey is also my journey, and I have been closely associated as a young child, both with having experienced domestic violence myself through her, but also, being part of the feminist movement in my early childhood. I did go on to do other things. I did advertising and communication, but I would always be linked with Majlis to support them in anything that they were doing, whether it was campaigns, whether it was publications, whether it was cleaning the floor or putting staple pins on, circulars that had to go out. So I've been part of Majlis's journey right from the beginning, and volunteered in different ways. And it was actually in 2007 that Majlis was going through a crisis of some sorts, because I don't know whether you know this, but when it's founder-driven organizations, it's very difficult for them to professionally manage an organization, because they come with so much passion and with so much of determination, but they're not necessarily equipped with running an organization. And there was actually nobody, who was there at Majlis at that time. A lot of people had left, Flavia was single-handedly trying to manage things, and it was a lot. And she was even considering shutting down the organization because it was just too difficult to manage. I stepped in primarily, Shivam, because I believed that it was too good an organization in its concept of wanting to support victims of domestic violence and rape, because there are very, very few organizations who are there are many community-based organizations who work with violence against women, but there are absolutely no organizations who work on the legal space. And Flavia had done, and Majlis had done so much work in that area that it would be criminal if this organization had to shut down. So I joined it and I started working there. Primarily, all I wanted to do was build it as an organization. Because there were enough people to come in and support it, work there, but you had to build an organization that could accept such people, that could work with such people, that could be professionally run and have a long-term objective. So that's why I started actually with doing my MBA. And I did my MBA at Narsee, Monjee. I did the 3-year program. And then I realized that a degree in law was equally important if you are going to be helming an organization that works in the legal field, even though I had far more legal knowledge than anybody passing out of law school, because I was on the ground. I was helping women access justice. But I did my law primarily so that I could have a degree in law and use that for the benefit of our clients and for our work.
Well, and what a journey it's been, 3 decades of Majlis, and you have completed 15 years with the organization. What have been some of your, biggest learnings as, at Majlis and as a women's rights lawyer and activist?
So it's extremely challenging, I can tell you, because not only Majlis works only with women and children victims of violence, we also are an all-women team of lawyers and social workers. So Shivam, you were one of the very, very few male interns who have volunteered with Majlis. It has mostly been a space for women. And the reason why we are a space for women is because we want to create opportunity. We do believe there are some absolutely wonderful men out there who support this cause. And we work closely with them. But when it comes to giving people an opportunity of a job or an internship, we give the first benefit to women because it's very difficult for them to find opportunity. So we make that as the first criteria. But we've had some very, very, very nice young men who have been part of our journey. And all of them, I cannot tell you without exception, are giving back so much, We have an intern who worked with us almost like when I joined 15 years back. Today, he's a senior counsel at High Court, and he helps us at any point, anytime we need any support. So we do believe in a collaborative, format of working. For us, I think the biggest challenge is that when it comes to violence against women and children, it's very strange that all of us want to believe that there's something going wrong, that there is immense violence that is being made out to women and children, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's rape, whether it's sexual harassment on the streets. But at the same time, each of us find it very difficult to believe women. You would have seen the Me Too campaign. You would have seen every day in the newspapers, portraying women as liars, portraying women as wanting to grab husbands' properties, portraying women as, filing false cases. It's a constant challenge. And these are the women we meet every day. These are the women who are struggling, who have such hard stories. And the way the whole system kind of works against them. And so access to justice is very, very difficult, actually, for any woman to even imagine going to court, because, unlike other legal cases, this is against your family, this is against a close member, this is against a friend or a neighbor. And it's so difficult to even in your head imagine asking for justice in that context. So one of the biggest things we have to do, whether we are lawyers or we are social workers, is to support them wholeheartedly. Walk that journey with them, be there for them, because mostly they will have nobody else supporting them. So it's not merely I'm a lawyer, I go to court, I represent a case. It's a very deep involvement with our clients. It's a very deep connection of genuinely wanting them. Our tagline says transforming victims into survivors. It's an emotion, right? It's not just representing women in court.
I, I was thinking about what you just said, and that brings my attention to the recent verdict of the Honorable Delhi High Court on marital rape. Because if you see, a large part of the critics do mention this, that there are already so many laws for women. And so why do you need to criminalize marital rape? And I think Honorable Justice Sakdar, if I'm not wrong, he gave the view striking down the exception. And he did point out to the actual data also, stating that it's actually not so many cases. If you compare, so many cases are not reported. What are your views on this decision and the MRE, that is the marital rape exception?
So, Shivam, this is my primary work, right? I work on violence against women, especially domestic violence. So, every day, to be honest, I speak to at least 4 or 5 victims of violence. My experience tells me that women are facing what we call a continuum of violence. There is immense sexual violence, there is immense domestic violence in the form of physical abuse, economic abuse, emotional abuse, a lot of mental, verbal abuse. So it's a continuum. There is not, oh, there's only sexual violence or there is only physical violence. There is everything happening to her. Her children are not being given food. She's been deprived of so many things. She's been beaten and she's been raped, right? Yet, if you see, at the same time, I can tell you that women find it so difficult to come out and talk about it. It'll take them years to kind of even internalize that I'm feeling this. And when they do come out, what they speak about most is the economic violence, because literally that is what brings you on the road, right? Your husband has thrown you out of your house. He has left and he's not providing maintenance. When you come to starvation is when women actually come out and speak about this. So they do mention sexual violence, but they never overtly kind of speak about it, because one is, it's too embarrassing for them to talk about it. Two is, there is a preconceived notion that if your husband has sex with you, whether by force or whatever, it's something that you have to just accept, right? But if you want to know my opinion and also Majlis's opinion, we do not believe, I hope this does not come as a shock to you and your audience, but we do not believe that the exception of the 376(2) should be deleted. Why? And let me explain to you. Please hear me out and bear with me. Yes, in marriage, there is rape, but there is a lot of physical abuse where a man breaks his wife's head, he beats her, he deprives her of food, he doesn't give her money, he beats her children. So there is so much violence, right? Now we have laws to deal with violence. And one of the very important sections that I will quote, which is steeped in controversy, is the section 498A. 498A says that it talks about cruelty to wives, and it says physical and mental cruelty. Now, in my definition, physical cruelty includes beating, hitting, kicking, but it also includes forcing somebody to have a sexual relationship, right? So why are we stopping short of using that law when it is rape, right? We can definitely say that 498A, physical abuse is included. Physical abuse, he has raped her, and so you can file that case. But filing those cases, right? So what does it tell you? One is it tells you that women are not comfortable talking about sexual violence. And when they talk about sexual violence, that is not the only thing that is happening to them. There is physical abuse, there is economic abuse. Now, just remember that 376 has minimum punishment 7 years. 498A has 3 years, right? If you delete the exception, then what you're technically saying is if you were raped, then he is liable for 7 years. But if your head was broken, you were bleeding, you were thrashed, you were not given food, you were not given money, then it's 3 years. So what you're then doing is doing a hierarchy of violence. One in a marriage, one violence more serious than the other. And this has a chance of creating a lot of confusion and a lot of problems for women on the ground. Our recommendation is that we need more clarity in 498A of what is this physical and mental cruelty. We need to clarify it in no uncertain terms that it includes all of this. And then first allow women to access that and provide support. What is lacking is in a matrimonial dispute, a law without other support, the other social support of the hand-holding, about helping her find shelter, about helping her with the custody of her children, their education, their schooling, it is an isolation, and it only suits a certain category of women who are upper class, upper caste, and have that support. What about the millions of other women? So we need to redefine how we look at violence in marriage, not create a hierarchy, because who am I or you to tell a woman that, oh, he only hit you once and that's not violence, or he only gave you bad words, so that's not violence. Let her decide what is violence to her.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. I really appreciate your views on the MRE, and especially I think how you linked it with Section 498A. It will give a fresh perspective to all the budding lawyers watching the show. Insofar as your work now is concerned, and I think, as I said, you've already been associated with Majlis for the last decade and a half. What next, and especially on the core areas, as I mentioned before, on which you have been working, RAHAT and the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act?
So I have to tell you, Shivam, things look so bleak currently. I mean, you really push yourself every day to go out there and fight that good fight. But just the backlash that we are facing when it comes to violence against women and children is just so sad. So recently, I don't know whether you heard, Majlis ran a campaign because a very, very kind and progressive, and what I would believe is a very sensitive police commissioner of Mumbai issued a circular to his team telling them not to record sexual violence and POCSO cases. POCSO is the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. Because these are false cases being filed because of family disputes, because of some, internal matters. So do not record it. You will have to take the permission of the DCP and the ACP to record such cases. Now, I was shocked out of my wits. Firstly, the law says record an FIR. So how can a commissioner of police say do not record? And what is the ACP and DCP going to verify? If an FIR is not recorded, how will they do investigation to even check whether it is true or not? So you are firstly going against the law that you're meant to uphold by saying do not record. And this you can only hear when it comes to women and children. It doesn't happen with any other crime. Nobody says don't record theft, don't record this, don't record that. But when it comes to violence against women, we so easily think it's okay. And then when I had a deeper conversation with him about it, what he told me is that it is the corruption of the police that he was trying to stop. Now, where is this and where is that? When you put out a circular like that talking about false cases and you're actually trying to address police corruption, then what is happening here? You issue a circular that police should not be corrupt. You take charge of your force and ensure that police are not corrupt. You hold up officers, you sack them, you terminate them, you do something to them. Shivam, when a young girl who has been raped by a close family member, by a neighbor, with absolutely no support, you're talking about 12-year-old girls, 13-year-old girls walking out. They don't even have the support of their mother because her mother is too scared to speak. She walks into a police station. Are you going to turn her away? Are you not going to believe her? And you know, and I know that if you read any judgment of sexual violence, the defense always takes the stand that it is family dispute, it is some money issue. This is their constant defense. So are you saying at the beginning of the trial, you're going to not record cases of sexual violence? What are we saying? I mean, is lives of women and girls so easily like thrown out of the window that it doesn't matter? You can change the constitution, you can change the law, you can do anything, because the whole concept is we are all thinking how to save the marriage and how to ensure women and girls do not come out and file anything. That's the way we all are looking at it. And I can go on and on and on about High Court and judgments from the Bombay High Court, about what police officers are doing, what we as citizens are doing by not believing victims of violence.
Well, thanks a lot, ma'am. I think that, is that circular taken back now?
No, it's just been with a lot of pressure. It has been revised, and now it says that record an FIR. However, if you have doubt that it is a case of family dispute or something, then take the permission of the DCP on phone. So we push to that extent that, okay, it will not be delayed by days because of this permission. Okay. But I don't know. What will the DCP say? Don't record. It's a false case. Like, how will he's sitting in his office? How will he know? After 60 days of time given to police, they are not able to establish and not able to file charge sheets. In one day, how will a DCP verify whether this is false, not false, family dispute? How?
Right.
I don't know. I just feel not enough thought goes into this issue of violence against women. And we just need to, all women are asking, and all I'm asking is, don't protect us. Don't be our brothers, fathers, all of that, please. Just allow us equal access of the law like our male counterparts.
Right. So that's a very strong and powerful message, which will go through this episode. And I do want to know, though, how you think a law student starting in the first year could build a career in the field of women and child rights. And especially, I think these days in the 5-year law course, students do think about these aspects. They do want to join volunteering and internship programs. So what would you like to say to them?
I would say that it's an extremely satisfying field. There is, every day I go to work, and you said I'm doing it for 15 years, but every day I come home feeling really, really happy and ready to go back again. I know that, law students are spending a lot of money these days to be in law school. And so the top priority is always, how do I, get the right internships so that I can, either, get into corporate law or even get into the big firms so that I can, justify what I spent in those 5 years. I was shocked at the amount law students pay, and I feel really bad. But I feel like you can do both, right? You can be sensitive and kind and caring, and we have a whole concept of pro bono litigation. So use your initial time in law school to gain knowledge about what is the problem. And you cannot do that by sitting on your high horse, should I say, or high pedestal, but
Ivory
you need
towers.
to be ivory towers. You need to be in the community. You need to see real women. You need to interact with them. So my advice to law students is do community work. Don't start with saying I want to do judge internship, I want to do this firm internship. Start at the community. Be part of communities, see the problems they're facing, talk to women, talk to children, because it will make you a sensitive person for life. I know that every intern who has walked the corridors of Majlis are always connected to us, are always indebted to the experiences that they've had, because it lasts a lifetime. So do that, do community internships, then move on to internships which are particularly working on violence against women, whether it's, law colleges have centers, you can volunteer at the center, you can volunteer at legal clinics, you can volunteer with, organizations like ours who are doing legal work. So maybe in your 4th year, 5th year, start doing a little bit of that, just have a balance. And then, even though you may, as a young lawyer, start working in a corporate or working in a firm, allocate some of your time towards this litigation, whatever your passion. You want to work in education, you want to work with violence against women, you want to work on, old age. Every organization can do with your help. So connect with us and give a little time. There's always work. I recently got a call from a young lawyer in High Court, and she says, it's vacation time. I have a month off. What can I do? Is there any work that I can do? So just give that time. Majlis has a panel lawyer program, and we actually devised it for lawyers like you, Shivam. I'm hoping you will be my prime candidate for it, which is you do your work and then you say that I have so many hours to give and I can do one litigation, just one, a year, for one woman, and I will do her domestic violence case in so and so court. And if all of us did one, it would be a lot.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. And as I told you, I think I shared the photos also with you. You did mention that it leaves an impact for a lifetime, and I completely agree with that. Especially, I remember felicitating the police didis on International Women's Day, and I think I will always be grateful to you for doing this podcast. And yes, to all the lawyers who want to know more about the Majlis Panel Lawyer Program and want to apply for it, I am putting the link, the Google Form link, in the description of this video. So please do check it out and do allocate some time. And I will also try my best, Audrey ma'am. And yeah, lastly, now just, if you have any parting words of wisdom for our budding lawyers, anything that you would like to tell them.
I just want to say that, it's an honorable profession. It is really the last leg that, when people give up all hope that they come to court. And you are such an important, if you're a litigating lawyer, you're such an important link between what they have to say and what the court hears, and you are that platform. So whatever you do, be very sensitive to litigants, be very kind to them, hear them out, be patient, because I think after a certain time we do lose our sensitivity and understanding, because we are so comfortable, right, about how court works. But just give that little extra time to litigants, because they really feel very, very lost with this whole very intimidating court structures.
Well, with that, the 10th episode comes to an end. Thank you so much, Audrey ma'am, for taking out time to do this episode. As I mentioned before, I will forever be grateful to you. And, to really, your presence has really played a crucial role in, I'm sure it will inspire our budding lawyers to strive for excellence in whichever field of law, they want to do some pro bono and community work, and also be more aware and socially responsible citizens. So thanks a lot for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.